Okay, I've done this video like 2 times now, calling out this toxic survivor main, and what keeps on happening is I get quite worked up against this person, Lillipie, and I'm actually scared that I'm so heated I actually might get in trouble if I upload the video, because this woman spews a lot of bullshit and she's very manipulative. I don't really care, except I don't want my channel to be penalised. If there was no risk of my channel getting penalised, I'd upload it, because this bullshit does deserve to be called out, and I'm going to do videos calling out the toxic survivor community. Okay? So, I do want... the main changes I want in this game is low tier killers to be able to compete. That's my main fix I want. Right? And there's a few minor changes that I want. Okay? And I actually want the S tier killers. I want the nurse nerfed. Nurse breaks the game. And ruins the game meta for all the other lower tier killers. Because the nurse exists. Right? The lower tier killers can't get good stuff that make them more viable. Or because shield abuse the lower tier stuff. Okay? But apart from that, I don't want any real fundamental change, except I want gen regression back to how it was, and I want gen rushing to be nerfed a little bit. Okay, that's the only change. That's the only change. I want the games to be a little bit longer, so there's more time for chases. That's it, really. And I want better maps as well, better map RNG too. Okay, but we're gonna hear what this toxic and toxic survivor main wants. And there's going to be more call-out videos of these toxic survivor mains, because I've had enough of them. I've just had enough. So let's get on with it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. This is a little bit of a follow-up video from my previous, which I did not expect to be so well received, but I'm super happy I was able to air some of my grievances with the survivor side of DBD, and have others relate so well.
So her grievances with the survivor side are valid. Her complaints are valid, right? You've got to be delusional to think that survivor needs a buff, by the way. You've got to be living on another planet. Anyone who thinks that, I can't take them seriously. I really, really can't. Yeah, okay. But her concerns are valid, but all killers' concerns are not valid. And she'll just gaslight and deflect.
Now, there were a couple of comments talking about how much of an entitled survivor main I am and how I've never played killer, which isn't really true.
You barely played killer. You're bragging about getting to Eerie 1 time or something like that. You've never played against high MMR killer survivors as a killer, right? You don't have experience with them. I've got experience with the best of the best, right? I've had some really, really bad games. Really, really bad games. Really, really bad games. I've done some really shit games. I rage quit every now and again. Right? And I actually rage quit more often because I play a lot of Oni now, which is like the most frustrating killer to fucking play. And I'm doing double speed add-ons. It's very hard to control. It's like, oh my god. But anyway, I've faced the best of the best. I've been at high MMR. Right? And I'm not just saying this because I've got a P100 Myers. Right? That I've stopped playing regularly. I've said this because I've played a lot of killer with aura reading perks. Max all 4 aura reading perks. I've played a lot of killer with 4 aura reading perks. And I've observed how the good teams play. Right? I've watched the habits. I've watched how they move. I watch how they pre-position themselves when they think the killer's not watching. Right? Good survivors put themselves in good position before the chase even starts. They've got good meta gameplay, and they're efficient, and they're at the right place at the right time, and they split up well, and they don't give free pressure, and they know how to chain in good pallets and good tiles together to waste your time, right? So I do know the difference.
I just laughed it off, but because of how frustrated I've been with Survivor, I decided to actually grind killer to Eerie and just see how difficult it really was. Except it really wasn't.
Oh my god. When someone's so ignorant and they don't know what they're talking about and they talk so confidently, it's just really, really funny. Really funny. But it's also annoying because these people... I'd ignore this if this didn't have an influence on the community and it wasn't destroying the game. This is destroying the game balance. this sort of a mid-wit take on the game, right? Like, no, I had to switch to. I might have to give up only because it's too frustrating. Like, it's just like too much. I might just have to go back to Pyramid Head all the time. Okay? Because you need anti-loop to compete, right? And even back then, when you made the video like a year and a half ago, you needed anti-loop to compete. There were still many big busted maps that were bad for low-tier killers. And even with a good killer, you make 1 or 2 mistakes, you miss a shot that you should hit, you get dragged into the chase a bit longer, they're going to pop gens, and it's GG, good game. You've got to be at the top of your game, right? Yeah? And like, there's games I've actually started off quite well, and because I haven't proxied the hook, I'm having fun. I want to have a new chase. I want to try and down someone. I haven't proxied the hook. They get on hooks. I don't find anyone. I go back to where they've been hooked. I don't find them, and gens pop, and I lose too much pressure, and I've thrown the game by not playing ruthlessly. Right? You haven't played the best of the best. I'm not sure if look. I think I've played the best of the best like 5 times in my entire time playing the game. The really, really good pro squads I've played like 5 times, and they've shit on me for the most part. I played one of them again with Pyramid Head, and I got like I got 0 kills, but I got like 8 hooks or something like that. I don't know. But the thing is, I realised later on they were actually trading hooks for time as well, because I just happened to get the next one, right? And it was quite a close game, but they still won quite comfortably on another level as well. And any other killer I play, I wouldn't have a chance. I'd be struggling to get like 4 hooks. I'd be lucky to get 5 hooks. Right? And I'm a much better killer than you, Lillipie. You're not fit to lick my boots as a killer, right? You're not in my league. And I'm just an average. Maybe I'm a slightly above average player. I'm just an average player, but you're not in my league, right? You're not in my orbit. Yeah, those survivors would crush you. They would annihilate you. You have no understanding of what the game's about.
I know a lot of people might say, oh, well, you're just slow MMR, but the majority of my games I was getting 2 to 4K, which increases MMR, and
it doesn't increase MMR that fast. It takes a lot longer than that.
Even then.
But if you ever hit that high MMR, you'll notice the difference. You'll go, oh yeah, this is what high MMR actually is. Your Eerie 1 that you're trying to show off here with your C tier killer doesn't mean anything, right? Because Wraith can get juiced pretty hard by good teams.
And I don't think MMR is that much of a factor anymore. My matches are all over the place.
Yeah, because you're low MMR. You're playing weak to average survivors, right? I'm playing average to strong survivors because I have smurfed on this game before on my Epic account, and I've played on my friend's account when I've stayed at his house, right? And I don't do it regularly because I don't want to play against weak survivors, okay? But I've played on other accounts. And the difference between my main account and the other 2 accounts is universes apart. I can pick the killer that I'm the most trash with, not use their power, and just run around M1ing them and winning against the survivors I get. They're that bad. Okay? You have never played against a high MMR team ever. I don't think. Never. You've never experienced it. You don't know what you're talking about. You just don't know what you're talking about. Honestly, yeah.
I had some players that were at a couple 100 hours, some with thousands of hours. I had over Prestige 50 players running into walls. I had some really good coordinated players. I had groups with Salvo Breakout or flashlights. I had people that pre-dropped every pallet. So
yeah, you've had crap teams. Pre-dropping every pallet is actually, depending on the map, is still a viable strategy if the other teammates are doing gens efficiently. Like, I've had games where they're pre-dropping instantly, They're just wasting my time, and they need to get all the gens done, or they need to get them all done, and they nearly win the game, or they win the game. Right? It's happened to me before. Right? I've had games where I get downed really fast, and they still get all the gens done. They just hook trade. Right?
So,
In fact, I had a recent game with Oni. I'm just thinking of it here. Okay? One person killed themselves in a hook after the second hook stage, and there was one gen left, and the game was quite fast. Right? Okay? Yeah. You haven't experienced efficient teams. There's a world of difference between efficient teams and lax teams. I know the difference. I just know the difference.
yeah. It seems like after a certain amount of matches, players just get pulled together anyways. Regardless, a lot of the comments...
No, they don't. Because for the most part, unless I'm waiting a really long time on the matchmaking system, okay, they will avoid giving me really baby teams on my main account, which is how it should be. Baby teams shouldn't be annihilated. They should be able to enjoy the game. Okay? You don't know what you're talking about again.
that I saw complaining were just genuinely skill issues on their part.
You've got no right to say it's skill issues. How dare you say that after the stuff you're going to say? Right? How dare you?
And with that being said, I compiled a good portion of comments that express some of the common killer struggles.
And you're going to see why I'm so incredulous about what she just said there. Okay?
And how I deal with some of them and what I've noticed about most killers overall. So here we go. Number 1, camping and tunneling are just legitimate strats.
Yeah, if it's part of the game, it's a legitimate strat. Even if it's broken OP, it's a legitimate strat. Right? That's how it is. Like, I had a bully squad who pissed me off yesterday. Right? And they're really annoying me, getting on my fucking nerves. I was pissed off at them. Right? But the thing is, they did legitimate gameplay. They did legitimate gameplay against me. I can't complain about... I think the gameplay was bullshit and badly balanced. And it shouldn't be in the game, and I had some bad map RNG. Okay? But they shouldn't throw the fucking game. It's behaviour's fault. It's their issue to fix. It's not the player's responsibility.
Oftentimes, I hear people say, okay, well, this is just the easiest way to play. And yeah, of course it is.
I'm calling that a sleight of hand, semantic trick. They're not saying this is the easiest way to play, right? Because they wouldn't use that wording. They're saying this is the only way I can win against the sweat squads. I bet they're saying that instead, right?
But do you ever even try in the beginning? A lot of killers don't try to play to get better.
Do you even try at the beginning? A lot of players don't play to get better. This is a non sequitur.
They play for comfort and practically a no resistance win.
That's you. You're projecting your own mindset onto the killers, by the way. That's you, not the killers.
And then they lock themselves into camping and tunneling instead of actually learning.
No, those two are not mutually exclusive, right? So it's actually a non sequitur then.
I think it's a normal mentality.
And basically, you just told killers they need to get good. Now you're complaining about tunneling and camping. So why don't you need to get good? Yeah?
To want to win. I mean, it's only natural. But I don't understand how you actually think you're going to get better at any killer if you play them all the exact same way, despite them...
Non sequitur and a straw man. How do you know they play them all the same way? Yeah? How do you know? It's look, you just don't like getting tunneled and camped. Right? That's it. Just admit it. I don't like getting tunneled and camped when I play Survivor. It pisses me off as well sometimes, but it's part of the fucking game. Yeah?
Having unique powers. Again, you could play for comfort, but it's better to have the skill to back it up in situations where it just doesn't work.
The thing is, skillful players still tunnel and camp if you let them, right? If you don't defend against it, they're still going to tunnel and camp. Yeah? So, again, this is a non sequitur. This is you just deflecting from your own bad play.
It's just kind of scummy, because there are two separate sides.
So, killers playing the game how they're allowed to play it is scummy. Okay.
To this game, and I don't think either side should ruin it for one another. It's a game.
But you want to ruin it for killer, and I'm going to prove that you want to ruin it for killer later on, right? Because when killers bring up legitimate concerns, you're going to gaslight them. So that means you want the game balance and remaining busted against killer, so they can't enjoy themselves, right? So you can have an easy, comfortable game and you can bully them.
Fun. And I understand if the killer was going to be somebody who just got unhooked because they were body blocking, or even alternatively somebody that was looping around the hook. That's not really them camping. or even at endgame, but as you can see here, this guy was just hanging out just because.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Yeah, because he wanted to win. And it's up to him if he wants to win. Yeah? Like, I've never heard of... I've actually been abused verbally in Discord groups for sarcastically saying to whiny survivor mains about tunnelling, oh, just stop gen rushing then and slow the game down. And I actually get abused by them. And they actually said to me, oh, how dare you tell us how to play. They didn't even realise I was being sarcastic when I was saying that, right? I was being facetious. Yeah? Right? This is... Alright, whatever.
M1, no anti-loop, and no mobility killers are weak. I've heard this argument so many
That's just a fact. You can't deny that.
times, and yes, it has some truth, but this is when you have to adapt to playing the killer and finding perks that synergize.
Okay, first of all, adapt to playing the killer, gaslighting, pure nonsense. If you're on a shitty map with god palettes, right, how can you adapt? Yeah? How? If the survivor doesn't play badly and they don't give you an opening, how do you adapt? How? What can you imagine like some skillful play out of thin air, even though the game's position doesn't support it? How? Explain how. We'll go back to the beginning of this again.
Number 2, M1, no anti-loop, and no mobility killers are weak. I've heard this argument so many times, and yes, it has some truth, but this is when you have to adapt to playing the killer and finding perks that synergize with their power and specifically your gameplay.
So finding perks that synergize with their power. Okay, right. Okay, so again, one of my main complaints of this game is that the low tier killers, the M1 killers, can't compete and are basically trash. And then she's trying to gaslight us. Oh yeah, just like run better perks. Now, this is what she's going to say if you do run better perks. She's going to contradict herself in the same segment here.
Perks are meant to enhance your gameplay, not necessarily make or break it.
No, perks don't just enhance your gameplay. Perks are fundamental to your gameplay in Dead by Daylight. Right? On both sides. That's how the game's designed. Okay? Especially with survivors, there's loads of perks that don't take any skill to use. You just right place, right time, the perks activate. Okay.
And I've noticed a lot of killers who do run multiple gen slows are often terrible at chase.
So basically, there's a she's trying to control the discourse on M1 killers. This is why I'm pissed off at her. Okay, so the community discourse has to be steered towards improving M1 killers to make them more viable. Okay, I really do believe that. But because you've got cock blockers like this who just lie and gaslight and invalidate killer mains who play low tier killer, no one's going to listen to them. The behaviour's not going to listen to them. Right? And so she's going to say, oh yeah, run better perks that synergize with your build. And when they run gen regression, which low tier killers need, she's going to attack them for it and say they're only running it because they're low skilled. So basically, you're winning too much. This perk's OP. It's not fair. Get good, get more skilled, so you can let me win. That's what she's basically saying. It's just brain gibberish.
Because they use slowdowns to stall and hope for the best.
No, you use slowdowns to win the fucking game and compete. Yeah, it's not just hope for the best. You can. I've had games where I've had lots of downs quickly, and the gens are still popping. So yeah.
Kind of make up for their skill.
And also,
personally,
all right, let's just hit. All right, she does that all the fucking time. She just attacks your skill. You're not playing the perk I want you to play. You don't have any skill. Get good, scrub. It's just a skill issue. Fuck off.
And I've noticed a lot of killers who do run multiple gen slows are often terrible at chase because they use slowdowns to stall and hope for the best to kind of make up for their skill. Personally, for my M1 killers, I'll run Stabiffle, also known as Save the Best for Last.
Save the Best for Last is not a good perk. Change my mind. Right? It's too niche. Okay? It's too niche. Against good teams, I don't get value out of it. I've messed around with it. Against good teams, I don't get value out of it. It's too niche. Like, what? Okay, because good teams are not going to be crowding me anyway. So I'm not going to get like wham, one person, and then wham, another. Right? It's fun, but it's not a great perk. So you're basically telling us you're not forced to use good perks on them one killers because you're not playing against good survivors. You're not playing against good teams, right? So yeah. So again, you're trying to control the narrative. You're trying to gaslight and disinform. So weaker killers don't get improved. You don't want weaker killers improved. You're trying to stop that, right? Out of spite, because you want the killers to be weak so you can bully them and win all the time. You don't want out your comfort zone. You'd love it if every single game you faced was a fucking clown or a trapper, right? Now, if it scratched out, you'd stop complaining about the traps, wouldn't you?
And if I decide to run slows, I never run multiple slows aside from Jolt and Pain Res. Jolt for controlling gens nearby when I get downs, and Pain Res for those that are further progressed.
So, pretty much you're running the meta slowdown there, right?
Personally don't like kicking gens either, so this incentivizes me to have good chases, meaning if I can end them quicker, I can generate more pressure naturally. I also find certain perks work better on killers like I'm all ears for Pyramid Head or Huntress, and Dissolution on Clown or Spirit. Number 3, killers don't accept criticism well.
Yeah, we don't accept criticism from you because it's disingenuous and not well-intentioned, right? And like, so basically, this is your criticism. Don't turn on camp. You got to get better. Skill issue. You need to get better at the game so you don't turn on camp me and so you can throw the game and stop being so ruthless. You low tier killer. You play low tier killer. Just run better perks. Oh, you're running better perks. Slow down perks. No. Skill issue. Get good, scrub. Get good. Stop running slow down perks. Like, why would we listen to your bullshit? Why? Why? Why would we take your criticism? Why?
It's okay to not be great at everything you do in DBD. Personally, it took me around 2,000 hours to even be decent at Survivor on my own, and around 500 or so on Killer.
You're not decent at Killer. That's the thing. You've never played. To be decent at Killer, you've got to be humiliated by the best, and learn from that. You've got to win most of your time against average teams, and you've got to have some experience against the very best teams, right? The God Squads. That I don't think you've ever encountered, right?
Dead by Daylight isn't the type of game that you boot up, play a few games, and then automatically become good. There's a lot of perks, maps, RNG, power...
So why don't you take your advice to heart and learn how to deal with gen regression, yeah?
Powers, items, add-ons, and just so much more that occurs naturally in gameplay. It's not something that you learn in a week or even a month, and people don't accept that. I've noticed people would much rather blame everything except for themselves. And while this actually applies to both sides, it's more relevant on Killer because they decide the flow and dictate the match itself. For example, a lot of people think that kicking pallets is a waste of time, but sometimes a loop could be rendered useless if you just kick the pallet instead of trying to play around.
This is very trite beginner level advice, so it doesn't mean anything. And I'll just consider this a deflection. So, yeah. I'm telling you, Survivor mains don't take advice or criticism well. Because I've been playing with lots of Survivors. And they never fucking learn. They bitch and whine and complain. I've played with some really toxic Survivors. I've had arguments with them in voice chat. Yeah. There's this one really toxic turd. Who I failed to unhook him because I had a brain fart. I was playing lots of games, I was tired. And I failed to unhook him. And the entire fucking session I played with this loser, he was giving the killer free pressure. There was one particular game where he was actually going to win quite easily. And what he did, he tried to do a shitty flashlight save when he was on death hook. And I wasn't on death hook and I was getting hooked. He didn't need to go for it. He went for it, he fucked up. And he got downed and he threw the entire game. There was actually more than one game like that in the session. I never complained once, right? I never complained once, right? And this bitch was whining and complaining at me on voice chat about my level of play. Yeah, because I fucked up once, and and this is the level of play for a lot of Survivors. They just never learn, they never self-reflect, they never improve, never adapt. Their strategic play never improves. They'll watch some like video like, oh, I'm juking the killer for 5 gens against a baby killer. They're too obsessed with juicing and sick loops, and they never learn their strategic side of the game. They never learn good positioning. Yeah, because even good players, they don't just get in your... Like, they position themselves fucking correctly. They're not being caught out of position so we can get them for free. Right? Okay.
I legitimately watched somebody stream where they tried to chase around a pallet when the survivor was facing an edge wall. For almost a minute. If they would have just kicked the pallet, the survivor's against the edge wall. They'd have nowhere to go, and they could have ended the chase then and there. But instead, they got frustrated at the survivor, thinking it was their fault, but it was actually theirs. There's plenty of other instances, but that's just one. Number 4, killers get greedy.
This is when it starts getting insane from my point of view.
Since 6.1, a lot of people, including myself obviously, would say that killer is easier than before. Not that you don't have to do anything and win, but you can play in the cheapest way possible, and there's nothing that a survivor can really do to win against it.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. That's a skill issue, or it's a meta game issue. It's an efficiency issue, right? If the team's efficient, that takes pressure off the chases indirectly.
If I wanted to push for a 4K each game by not caring, I could probably do it in about 90% of my matches.
Yeah, because 90% of teams are dog shit, right? There's lots of dog shit survivors. And the thing is, I feel a lot of killers don't improve at this game. Maybe even me included, because there's so many bad teams. You just get lazy. You learn bad habits. Like there's lots of stuff I do at loops out of habit because it just works against weaker players, right? You probably get bad habits playing weak teams.
But I've noticed a lot of killer players are ultra greedy in their matches, where even if they have a good amount of hooks or even a 2 or 3K, they have to have the 4K.
No. This is complete horse shit. I don't see this. Lies rejected. Most of the streamers I watch, and me included, we don't give a shit about 4K. So maybe there's an odd, weird individual out there, but you're cherry picking for sure. Yeah? And the thing is, if killers started going, oh yeah, stop doing 4-man escapes all the time, stop rushing out the gates, let's have one kill for free, they'll get ridiculed. Right? They'll get ridiculed. For sure. Okay.
Sort of like a 4K or I'm not okay mentality, which is bizarre.
Yeah, it's bizarre because it doesn't fucking exist. You're the bizarre one. You're gaslighting. You're some sort of weird cluster type B personality disorder who's ultra entitled. Yeah. The thing is, I can get frustrated, I can get angry, I can rage, right? I can get pissed off at DVD, right? But I can like step back after I cool down and I can think about it objectively about what's going on in the game, right? And I can say to myself, yep, I'm actually wrong. That's actually okay for them to play that way. That's just my frustration. I need to cool down. And then I cool down, right? What you do, you take your frustrations to heart and you can't think logically about it. You can't detach and think logically. Yeah?
I understand DVD as an ASIM, and so thinking that I'm always going to have a 4K or that I always deserve a 4K is something that I just can't get past.
Yeah, because it doesn't happen, right? And what do you mean I deserve a 4K? You either get a fucking 4K or you don't get a fucking 4K. And if they get the effing 4K, they deserve it because they earned the fucking 4K. As if it means anything. The 4K doesn't mean anything because there's fucking hatch in the game and it's RNG and it's luck. Who cares? Jesus Christ.
It's basically an admission that you think that there's nobody that could be better than you. And although it started as a joke, I've noticed a trend of people that have...
It started off as a survivor main in gaslighting. Bullshit made up crap thing. Not as a joke. Yeah? So, and it basically just pathologized people who want to win the game with 4Ks. Okay. Whatever. Okay? If they want to go for a 4K, let them go for a fucking 4K. It's weird to me, right? But it's not like they're insane for doing it. Jesus Christ.
This sort of...
It's just what they're just doing is they're putting themselves through boredom, right? From my point of view, that's all.
Killer power roll fantasy where they want a completely uncontested full sweep. No. Most killer mains don't want that. Most killer mains actually want a challenge. They want interesting games. You want the power fantasy. You want a clean sweep. You want easy escapes. You want killers with gen regression to get good, so they stop running gen regression, i.e. throw the game, and you want killers to stop tunneling and camping against you because it seems to be effective, because otherwise you won't be complaining about it. Every single thing that you complain about is effective against you, so you want a killer to stop doing it. Yeah? Resistance type of thing, no matter what, or else it just doesn't matter to them. Number 5. Survivors have perks to counter a lot. This one is kind of intertwined with the first, but perks that survivors have to counter some of the more unfun killer plays can't always apply, which makes it a little frustrating.
So basically she's going to be told to run better perks to counter this, and she's going to say, oh, I just don't want to do that. It's weird being told to do that, when she was telling killers to do that in this very video earlier on, the M1 killer section of the video. She's got this woman's got no shame. She's got no shame. Really disingenuous. Really disingenuous. Right? No shame whatsoever. Like, she can like complain about one thing, right? and then turn around and invalidate a killer with a similar complaint, and then tell them to do the thing she doesn't want to do herself. Okay.
Because of how oppressive killer can be, you can't really outskill the oppressiveness.
Yes, you can. You can outskill the oppressiveness. The team can outskill the killer. So that's just wrong.
You just kind of hope it works, and I'll explain what I mean. Ots released an infographic on Twitter recently that gives us an idea of what I'm talking about. But the infographic made me feel a little weird because of the shoehorning into a build when there are so many other perks and opportunities.
So basically, you're complaining about something, and you think it's weird to be told to run perks that counter something you're complaining about. So you must not want to avoid that situation that badly then, right? Okay. Okay. So hit and run, you don't need a perk from that. Just stop giving hits for free. Stop giving free pressure. Don't even need to run a perk for that. Slugging, split up when possible. Stop giving free pressure. So that's positional play again. Adrenaline and hope, very strong. Okay, and camping, that's gen repairing. That's focusing on gens, and you've got reassurance. And tunneling, that's actually good. Time to unhook, gen pressure, timing unhooks very well. And these two perks here, off the record, the S will deal with that. Yeah. Okay, this game's a 4v1, not a 1v1, and you've got to realise you might get tunnelled, but your team still might win. Okay, and I think if your team wins and you as a survivor get tunnelled out, it still should be classed as a win, right? And you should get bonus points, and it should actually increase your MMR, in my opinion, because what that's going to do, that's going to incentivise the whole team to play better, and less selfishly. Okay.
But a lot of survivors are just at the mercy of a killer not playing a certain way, which I don't really like.
No, they're not. It's a skill issue on your part, right? Again, this has been shown to you. A lot of this is not even perk related. A lot of the advice here is better meta gameplay, but you're so entitled you don't want to do it. Yeah.
And
is it like I said? I barely play Survivor anymore, and even early on, I figured some of this stuff out independently. I've learned not to crowd the killer, right? Okay, I learned to stay away from the killer when he was hooking. I learned to stay away from the gens that he was going to check when I was on death hook. No one actually told me this, right? It's common fucking sense. So if you don't want to adapt, that's your entitlement issue on steroids. You're just an entitled survivor man on steroids.
even using some of those perks, I've still been straight up camped and tunneled with these.
Skill issue.
I just think the focus should be more advocating for killers to get better and let people
advocate for killers to get better. So the killer's killing you, but they've got to get better so they don't kill you. Do you see what nonsense that is coming from your mouth? Jesus Christ, a lack of self-awareness coming from you, woman. And the thing is, again, if this is just a fringe element of the community getting ignored and had no influence, I wouldn't care. But this element of the community does have influence. Cringe takes like this have influence. Behaviour balance the game around these losers. Jesus Christ. Like, can you imagine a true talent who gets ostracised and stalked and harassed by the survivor community, and he does, right? Can you imagine and he gets slandered by YouTube content makers, right? You just straight up lie about him, right? Can you imagine if you were saying entitled stuff like that, like this? He wouldn't be able to live it down. He wouldn't be able to live it down.
Actually play games out. I don't think I made that as clear on Twitter, which I'm aware of, but Ots and I are friendly peers to one another as content creators.
You're not his peer, right? You're not fit to lick his boots. You're not his peer in influence. You're not his peer in game skill. And you're not his peer in ethics and good behaviour, right? And you're not his peer in logic. You're not in his orbit.
Even if we do have different training.
You're as a killer, you're not in my orbit either, and I'm nowhere near his level.
The thoughts. Number 6, the Survivor HUD is too OP. I've been seeing a lot of people reference that the Survivor HUD is too OP.
And you're never going to get good at killer because you've got an entitled mindset and you're lazy. And you don't self-reflect. It's not even a skill issue, it's a strategy issue. To be good at strategy, you need self-awareness, you need to be able to reflect on things, and you just don't want to do that. You just go, you need to get good, killer. Stop running these perks I don't like. You need to get good, killer. You're complaining about game imbalance, killer. You just need to get good.
OP already, but not even for solo queue survivors. For Swift too.
The HUD, the only thing I'll say about the HUD issue is that the HUD being introduced was pointless for the most part, because solo queue teams don't use it correctly, and Swifts use it, and so it's just a buff to Swifts. That's all it is. It's a waste. It's mostly wasted on solo queue from what I can see.
I have major confusion here as to how it's OP, considering it just tells you very general information.
Yeah, you got confusion about a lot of things because you don't understand the game. It's bad for stealth killers. It shits on stealth killers and nerfs them. That's the main problem with it.
Not even the exact totem that's being cleansed or the gen that's being worked on, just straight general knowledge.
Yeah, but it tells them when the survivor's being chased, right? And that's the most important thing about it, in my opinion. So it lets you know when it's safe to do stuff.
This makes it so that solo queue players aren't completely left in the dark and have a pressure to play more as a team, which I'm super happy to see. We haven't even seen stats come out on whether or not this has increased the escape rate.
Escape rate is meaningless, and I'm going to do a video explaining why escape rate is meaningless and why the statistics are meaningless. Because I haven't seen a video that's really gone into detail about this. Why the statistics are garbage. They're bordering on misinformation, the way they're portrayed. They're portrayed in an out of context way. Okay? So, game balance, learning about game balance from a statistical point of view only makes sense if it's analysed on high skill gameplay. Because high skill players use all the attributes in the game efficiently. So therefore you can judge the balance of the game. Okay, so the game, let's discount the nurse for now, because I think it's balanced around the nurse. It's roughly balanced against ultra efficient teams, right? But I admit there's not a lot of teams that are efficient, but I think it's a 50-50 against a really good nurse against a really efficient team. But all the other killers, right, more or less, with maybe a few exceptions, maybe the remaining S tier killers. Let's just say, let's discount all the S tier killers for now, for the sake of argument. All S tier killers, all the other killers, even including A tier killers, the game is survivor sided. Okay? The thing is, a lot of players are so entitled, they're so lazy, they're so bad that we don't see how unbalanced the game is, because there's some really nasty loops that I don't get to see used efficiently. And if they use them efficiently, it would make my life as a killer much harder. And I think, thank God they don't know how to use that. I see it all the time. Right? This game is busted for Survivor. Busted. For sure.
Which I'm sure is still pretty much the same considering how strong Killer is at the moment.
Yeah, Killer's not strong at the moment, though. That's the thing. And it wasn't strong when you made this video. So, Killer was really bad, and Survivor was really busted when it was old Infinite Dead Hards, and it was basically Infinite Dead Hard, and it was more infinites on the maps. There's still infinites on the maps, by the way, but there's more infinites on the maps. Okay? So the game was really busted. Insta-blind. There was a time when there was insta-blinds. Okay? DS was a lot stronger. You could do a gen in the killer's face with DS. I was playing when that was a thing. And DS still activated. Right? Okay? The game... So some survivors try and argue that the game is easy for killer now because it's slightly less busted than it was in the past. No. That just proves that you consider a completely unbalanced, broken game against killer to be acceptable. So therefore, you're actually malicious and dishonest against killer players. Yeah? I do not want a busted, boring, horrible game for survivors. Right? That's the difference between you and me. I'm actually morally superior to you.
Number 7. Swift is scary. This is
More gaslighting incoming.
a smaller point, but I feel like there's far too much fear-mongering when it comes to Swift and DBD.
So pointing out how strong Swift is fear-mongering. No, it's not. It's just pointing out the facts. Yeah? So, there's tactics I've seen Swifts use against me as killer. So, there's two really strong ones that people seem to overlook. Maybe they've never actually encountered it, or they encountered it and they haven't realised they've encountered it. Right? But I've done games with full gen regression against these people. Right? So, I'm seeing the auras through a lot of the match. I've been playing as Myers in the past. I've got aura reading. And they're pre-leaving the area way before they can hear my terror radius and way before they can see me. Right? And I've noticed I'm passing another survivor, but they can see me and heading towards that Jack to try and pressure it or catch them off guard. Right? Catch them out of position. And the survivor's pre-leaving early. Right? Early pre-leaving is very powerful when it's done by Swifts. Okay, you've never encountered it. You're probably not even aware of this tactic. I've played. I know this sounds arrogant, but I've played at levels you've never played at as killer. Again, it's not because I'm good. I've just put in the hours and I'm experienced. and I reflect and I study, right? And hook trading, efficient hook trading, is very good as well. If you don't realise you're facing a swift, especially if you're playing chill, and you don't realise that the team's trying to do this. I've been a victim of hook trading. I've hooked everyone twice, and all the gens are done. And I was thinking, I've been chasing everyone efficiently and getting quick downs, but nope, they've hook traded. Yeah. This game, there's a lot of meta, there's a lot of strategy to this game. That's probably too deep for people like you. I know that sounds condescending, but whatever, you deserve it.
And it's kind of silly at this point. Swift is usually...
So, Swift being strong is just silly. So, you see, all the complaints are valid, right? All the complaints have to be listened to, but your complaints as killer are silly. Okay.
just a group of friends goofing off who don't want to play alone. Hell, I'm one of those kinds of people. I'm not here calling my position every 10 minutes or trying to like destroy the killer. It's usually dumb stuff like this.
Australia.
By the way, this is just footage of a random flashlight save. That doesn't prove anything, right? This is just one encounter in a game. Doesn't prove anything. Who said that solo queues can't flashlight save? Okay.
Right.
In Australia.
And then people's experience as well. You're trying to discount people's experience when you're like a shitty low MMR killer, right? The Swifts do try and flashlight save more, okay?
She was telling me how her mom, at her like place of employment, because she works in an office, and they have like this spider that they call Charlie, and he's just like there.
That was such good timing. Huh? What? I've been accused of Swift just because of pure coordination between randoms and I in my matches, but that's the one true scary part. Coordinated players who aren't always in a Swift. After a certain amount of time, you'll be confident in your matches as a survivor. So yeah,
and coordinated players are even stronger in the Swift, so you're not making a point.
You'll take a protection hit, you'll red light a killer, and you'll go for more risky plays. That just happens. Scott John made a really good video about this, which I'll link down below in the description.
Yeah, I don't take Scott John very seriously because he's a politician. And he has some weird... He's very knowledgeable in the game. He's got some good understanding of the game. But he's got some weird takes that I have to class as disingenuous. Yeah?
But I won't keep going on and on about it. He does a really great job of explaining. Number 8. Gens go too quick. One thing that always freaks killers out is when they see 1 to 2 gens pop off early on, which is natural because you think to yourself, oh shoot, they're really hammering gens, but that's not always the case.
They're really hammering gens, but that's not always the case. If the fucking gens pop, they fucking pop. Like, you're just basically trying to directly gaslight people now in the most ineffective way possible. It's ridiculous. The gens just popped in your face. No, they didn't pop. That's just your personal hang-up. Those gens that just popped in your face early, they didn't pop. They didn't pop. Don't pay attention to that. Like, what? Okay. You're just trying to invalidate killer complaints about gen efficiency and gens popping faster. Right? Okay. So, you're begging killers not to be efficient, not to tunnel, not to camp, and not to run gen regression perks. But when killers complain about being gen rushed, no. Don't pay attention to the elephant in the room. Just a massive double standard. Any complaint you have is valid. Any complaint we killer mains have is invalid. Yeah? So, yeah. I've got to sweat from the start and keep gens in mind right from the start. Right? When I'm downing someone quickly, I still worry that like, gens are going to bloody pop all over the place.
Survivors spawn near gens or spawn together at gens, which I think is bad RNG and shouldn't happen. But
okay, this is a big slip up on your part, because this proves you don't understand the game, right? So again, I figured this out after a while. It didn't take me 500 hours to figure this out as killer. Okay, so there's 2 scenarios as killer, right? Let's say you hit someone early, you get sucked into the chase, and because of sunk cost fallacy, you keep the chase going for a bit. It takes you a bit longer than you expected. We can all do this, right? Because it can suck that if you decide to drop chase when you got someone injured, the pressure of gen, you go to the wrong gen and gen pops. So you think, oh well, I might as well just get this down, right? I might as well get something out of this. So there's 2 scenarios. So the scenario where you take about a minute to down someone or whatever as a killer, and there's 3 people on a gen and that gen pops. That scenario is not too bad actually, right? Because the first gen's always going to pop most of the time. Okay, and there's scenario number 2, right? Where you down someone within a minute, a gen doesn't pop, but there's 3 survivors on separate gens and get each gen to 80%. What scenario is actually worse than the killer? For the killer? What one is worse for the killer? It's the one where they've worked on 3 different gens. So actually, survivors spawning together is not bad for the survivors. It's survivors spawning separately. That's bad for the killers, right? Okay.
It does. Killers are simply the weakest at the start, but it's really mid to end game that is the most important in my opinion. Meanwhile, survivors are the strongest at the start of a match. That's just how games are designed to go. However, your goal at the start of a match should be to strip survivors of the resources and make them weaker as the match progresses.
I don't play Legion that much anymore, but I don't remember getting duped on the power like this, right? Because I'm always expecting them to do that when I'm vaulting, especially cocky survivors, yeah?
Number 9. Killers overcommit or undercommit to chases. Chases are a huge thrill for survivors like me, but because I have thousands of hours, my experience combined with a good setup can let me loop for however long the killer decides to chase me at times. This could be for 2 to 3 or even 5.
So she's showing gameplay footage of shit killers, basically. Okay.
5 gens.
And again, this is a gaslighter, a psychological manipulator, okay, a pathological liar. Your advice is not wanted or welcome. We don't need trite beginner gameplay advice from a disingenuous, badly motivated actor. Okay, there's much better players we can get advice from, much more honest as well.
I primarily play solo queue, so I can't always say the same for my teammates, but I have had some teammates out there that are just as strong at looping the killer. But realistically, far too many killers overcommit to their chases, costing them their gens.
So the thing is, right, if a beginner killer goes to you for advice, they go, oh no, I can't get downs, right? You'll go, drop the chase, right, and press the gens, okay? And when that doesn't work out for them, because they're not getting downs, you say, oh yeah, they're dropping chase too much. You'll just say whatever to invalidate them, so they don't think about game balance and want it changed, right? You want to keep the game busted against killers. Again, most of my complaint about game balance is against the low tier killers. The low tier killers are dog shit. I just want the low tier killers fixed. I want the game fixed in some way to make them more viable. That's all I want. Okay?
And they're not wasting enough resources as well. This ties into what I previously said, of course, but I can typically greed loops because I know what I can get away with versus what I can't get away with.
So basically, you know the levels pretty well, and you know how to reduce crappy M1 killers. Okay.
A lot of survivors won't have this knowledge, so they will pre-drop and they will waste pallets instantly. Chasing these types of survivors early on, even if it doesn't result in a down, can be beneficial because you strip the survivors of the resources and the next survivor you chase can't use them, and then you'll have a much easier time as a result. Even catching a survivor out of positioning can be really good too. On the flip side, you can also...
So what does this have to do with your... Why do killers complain? It's very condescending, right? After you invalidated someone, to give them trite basic arse level gameplay advice. Yeah? That's unsolicited. Yeah? Just saying.
Also undercommit to chases and prematurely leave them without injuring, downing, and even wasting any of their resources, which is also a big no. But as time goes on, you'll find a good balance of these things. Number 10. If killers can't stack gen perks, neither should survivors.
So this is the closest you get to being fair. You're basically, if killers can't stack gen perks, neither should survivors. So basically what I think you're saying is, get rid of gen rushing perks, stacking, and make sure the gen regression doesn't stack either. Okay, that's the closest you've been to being fair, from what I can see. Well done.
This one will also be short to the point, but a lot of killers will complain about survivors being able to do gens really quickly, but...
And you had to gaslight, right? You did well, but you had to resort to the gaslighting. Okay.
Realistically, these are in very niche scenarios and can't even be applied to most of their matches.
Alright, do you know what the word niche actually means? Right? Gen rushing perks and items are not niche. Okay? The objective of the game is gen rushing. Bringing brand new parts of the toolkit is not niche. Right? It's not like a totem thing or whatever. It's not niche. So you're just trying to dismiss how effective gen rushing is to confuse and gaslight killers. So you're trying to keep killer mains confused with your disinformation, so you don't understand what the game balance actually is, and you want to invalidate their complaints, and you want to control the narrative so behaviour doesn't fix the problems with the game against killer. That's what you're trying to do. Okay, I understand that. I can see through you.
And again, tying with my previous point, a lot of killers will overcommit to a chase and not even realize that they've been chasing for that long. For example...
The thing is, yeah, and he dropped Chase, and he chased someone else off of Jen, and they can't down him either, if they're a baby killer. So you're offering advice to baby killers, yeah.
This guy complaining in my YouTube comments. There is...
Dead Hard literally is unhealthy for the game. He's talking about the version of the Dead Hard, the new one, before it got reworked. The one where you could use it at the start of the game. Dead Hard literally is unhealthy for the game. The fact that I have to chase someone for 2 minutes just to pallet... Just pre-dropping every pallet for them just to press a button and extend the chase another 40 seconds is absolutely absurd. Now, ignore her condescending advice about dropping the chase. Okay? Okay? He's talking about his general experience and a frustration point of view. He's made a mistake extending the chase. He's committed to the chase and he's about to get it down. He's already made a mistake. But why the fuck should a survivor get a third health state? Right? At the start of the game. Why? It's bullshit. Even survivor-sided behaviour realised it was bullshit and they got rid of it, right? But here she is, trying to gaslight and belittle and condescend, just so she can defend... She wanted that status quo to be kept. She wanted to defend the old Dead Hard. Okay? That's her motive at play there, by the way.
No reason in the world why you should be chasing a survivor for more than an actual minute.
And there's no reason in the world why a survivor should get a third health state at the start. Right? Okay.
I mean, most of my chases end within 30 to 45 seconds. Anyways, I know a lot of people freaked out when Hyperfocus and Stakeout sparked up some conversations on Twitter, but the setup for it requiring you to be in the killer's terror radius for a full minute without being chased, not being interrupted by any means, and hitting most, if not all, skill checks is a lot to pull off consistently, and there's an entire build that's dedicated to it, typically.
So basically, she's cherry picking one gen regression perk, gen rushing perk, ignoring all the others. So this is just dishonesty. There's other gen perks like prove thyself, like resilience and prove thyself can be clutch. You can jump on and rush that gen with someone else, for example. There's lots of gen and brand new parts and toolboxes exist. So yeah, your cherry picking is not going to confuse me, woman. I'll tell you that for sure.
So this means that more than likely you won't have to worry about being hit with DS, off the record, reassurance if you want to get those people out of your game ASAP.
Okay. So why are you offering advice like this? I thought you was against tunneling. And two, you don't need... You can run one gen rushing perk, like prove thyself, with a toolbox, and still keep all the other anti-tunneling perks anyway. So you're offering a false dichotomy right then and there. Okay.
Long story short, there's just nothing that survivors have in comparison outside of extremely niche gameplay that can progress gens as fast as killers can regress them. And here you can see this nemesis just does not stop chasing my friend Zero. And
yeah, what point are you making? Showing footage of some of the worst killers in the game means nothing, right?
He's let all 5 gens get done, and Zero gets out, and then he DCs.
And then yeah.
But look at his build. He was hoping that he could chase for long enough and have the slows do the work.
No, slows don't do the work, right? You got to get the downs, right? Look, if he's that bad at the game, how is removing gen regression going to help him? You're not making it make sense. So he gets to the gen regression, you just get out that little bit faster. He has gen regression, he has more time to practice and hopefully get better at the game, right? So you might as well go with gen regression. Yeah? Okay.
Number 11.
And you need gen regression from Nemesis anyway, because you want to get his lit. It's a time investment, unless you get lucky with the bump into the zombies. If you bump into the zombies enough and you get lucky, because I don't want to go out my way hunting down zombies just to get the whip, because you need to chase. Unless you get lucky with the zombies, bumping into them regularly, right? The level 2 is a time sink, right? Okay. So you need your gen regression on Nemesis because of that I find.
Killers have massive egos.
Killers have got massive egos. You've got no right to say that at all. So basically, you're just doing personal attacks, attacking their character, attacking their mental health, attacking their mentality, belittling and validating them, right? Just to support your entitled narrative. Yeah? Your the person who complains about people who run slowdown perks and tunnels and camps and tells them to get good so they can have be less effective at the game. So they've got to get good so they can play in the set way that you want them to play and be less efficient. So you've got a better chance of winning. Okay, you've got no right to attack them for their egos.
A lot of killers really do. I've noticed a lot of killers get mad when they suspect Swift, get teabagged, get stunned with...
Well, the thing is, people with teabag are scum. So what you did there, you're just scum. Right? You're scum for teabagging. People with teabag are scum. Pure and simple. There's no need for it. And I'm just like... So you teabag people to wind them up and get them angry. And they shouldn't get angry at it. And they shouldn't get wound up by it. But it's your motive here. That's what makes you scum. Okay? If you do something to wind someone up, right, and it's based on sadism, you're a trash human being. Okay? Like, they shouldn't get angry, they shouldn't get wound up, but I'm doing something to try and wind them up. Okay?
Head on, get flashlight saved, get looped, and more. It makes a lot of people flustered, and as a result, I've seen a lot of people make more mistakes than they normally would.
I tell you what, getting flashlight saved when you're playing a shitty low tier killer, you're struggling to get the down, you finally get the down, right? And the adrenaline's pumping, right? And you're not really paying attention, you're going for the pickup, and boom, flashlight saved. Right? It's really, really, really frustrating game design. Really is sometimes. It depends. Like, if you're a high tier killer and you just flashlight save you early in a game, and you still got good chances of winning, yeah, it's whatever. It doesn't really bother you, but it can be really frustrating. And since you're a psychopath with no empathy, you're not going to empathise with that, right? You should invalidate them and belittle them, but your concerns are going to be valid, yeah? Right? And look, I'd have some sympathy with your tunnelling concerns if I thought you was a genuine person and wasn't disingenuous, right? Because I'd have to see the context of how you're getting tunnelled. I think you're probably making arrogant, cocky decisions when you're trying to bully killers and it's getting you downed, right? So that's your fault. I sometimes get tunnelled, but I rarely get tunnelled. When I'm on death hook and I manage to get unhooked, right, I'm hiding. I'm being as safe as possible. I'm not going to rush the general progress that the killer's more likely to check. I'm going to go on the general, the least amount of progress. And if I hear the teleradio's coming, I'm going to pre-leave. Right? It's common sense. Do you have that common sense? I wonder. Yeah?
Certain things like getting head-on or flashlight saved aren't making you lose your games. It's you getting outplayed from time to time.
And you can get outplayed. You see, you contradict yourself. This is how your fucking brain works. Invalidate. I've got to say something to invalidate them. I've got to say something to invalidate the concerns. I've got to say something to gaslight them. So you'll just say anything that comes to your fucking head to be dismissive. So you're not losing games because you're getting out to head-on and flashlight saves. You're losing because you're getting outplayed. What? Head-on and flashlight saves can be used to outplay people. What the fuck are you even on about? You're spewing gibberish that doesn't even make sense.
And that is okay. Once you know about head-on in your match, you can be wary of it next time. You can look around, face a wall, or run Infectious or Franklin's if you're worried about flashlights.
Yeah, and okay, and you run about and look about, and it gives them the time to get position to do the save. You don't know. You're giving generalised trite advice that you're not fit to give. Yeah. So yeah.
Even with things like survivors gesturing, nodding, or teabagging, the action does nothing to progress the game for them. It actually slows them down instead. I used to get upset at it when I first played Killer 2, but then I realized it was only making me play worse because of how upset I was letting it make me. Even as a survivor, I love nodding purely because it looks so goofy from the killer's POV and it makes me laugh. Or sometimes I'll point to tell the killer to stop chasing me, just because. It's not that serious.
Okay, so yeah. So this is the bullshit narrative that Killer Main's got to put up with. And Killer Main said even stuff even half as stupid as this, there would be ostracised, scrutinised, and there'd be videos of them saying this stuff played over and over again on Twitter and on social media. Right? Yeah? Yeah. So, yeah, more debunks to come. I'm going to call this bullshit out.